Hello, I am Zinfogel. The second part for Anniversary is out, and with it we have two new Pokefairs, OG Red and OG Blue. We are also getting Giovanni is 6-star EX for free, which is great news for everybody, except for Caitlyn users such as myself, but today we are just going to focus on the other two. Well then, let's begin. First up, we have Red and Snorlax, a normal type support Pokefair. This guy is claimed to fame is the fact that his turn move grants super effective up next to an ally, which is a first for this game. Red can do a whole host of other things, but we should focus on this aspect of his kit because it's his primary function. So, super effective up next is a very potent multiplier. It triples super effective damage. You will notice that a lot of the big name Signuks in this game incorporate that multiplier somehow. People like Bob Marnie's as well as Anniversary N. Red's turn move has a lot of potential. He essentially functions as an all-in-one support. He can amplify any damage of any typing you want, and when timed right, this is very potent. Red is especially effective alongside 6-star EX strikers. His turn move guarantees that a sync move will kill its target. On a surface level, Red appears overpowered because of this effect alone. But the thing is that Red's turn move has two more side effects. Red can also buff crit for an ally by 2 stages, so he behaves similarly to Ingo, where he accelerates your offense. You can have your striker buff attack, while Red tops off their crit. And because of this setup speed, a tech that Red can perform is Denial a right side Pokémon on the second turn of a fight. A unit like Lance can easily denial in Champion Stadium with a super effective up next Hyper Beam. Red's turn move also lowers the sync countdown, which is meant to play off his Gigantamax. Remember that max moves don't advance the sync countdown, so this helps make up for the lost turn when using one. But we'll get to Red's Gigantamax in a little bit. It's worth noting that Red has multiple uses for sync acceleration. If you pair him with a striker with Head Start 1, for example, and use Red's turn move twice, then you can shave off a whole round of combat, and he could play very well in sync acceleration strategies. So, yes, I recognize that this turn move is a very exciting prospect because it allows a lot of sync nukers to exceed their limits. But my qualm here is that if you reach the point where you have 6-star EX strikers on your account, you can probably clear content easily enough already. Let's put 6-star EX Brendan as an example. You could bring Red to buff his nuke, but the deal is that you don't need a super effective up next buff so Brendan can wipe a stage. If you bring Skyla to buff Inertia and a Leer user, Brendan easily cleans a Champion Stadium Fierce sync. My point is that for more advanced strikers, the super effective up next buff is overkill. You don't need that buff when you set up your striker properly. However, I think that Red has a lot more value for new players. Players who still haven't pulled sync pairs with field effects like Mei, Bianca or Bogner. Super effective up next essentially behaves as weather. So I think Red's true purpose is enhancing low tier strikers. You know, sync pairs who actually need the help. Now, something I usually talk about when analyzing sync pairs is a striker is of type value. This is a conversation necessary to have because a vast majority of players don't whale in this game. I am an exception. A lot of people lack the resources I possess. A unit has better value when they off-type easily at a 1-5, because they can help you clear a lot more content. I am bringing this up because Red's best value is on-type. His purpose is augmenting super effective damage, and advanced accounts probably won't find much value in that when they already have very potent strikers. A 6-star EX striker already craps all over Master Mode on super effective contexts, so I am not sure what Red is bringing to the table in that scenario. On the other hand, Red's turn move offers unreal value for early accounts. You can legitimately use units like Hapu and Valerie very effectively with Red's help, so he can enhance rough spots in your roster. Alright, I hope I covered everything regarding Red's trainer move, because there is still the whole rest of the kit left to talk about it. I will try to be brief. Red has excellent stats. This is similar bulk to Signature Blue pre-Mega. As for Red's moves, he has a Body Slam. This means he has a 30% chance to paralyze, so he can assist paralysis synergy users. He also has a hostile environment 1 tile on his grid to double this chance, so this has great utility for legendary arenas that have a gimmick involving status conditions like Tornadus or Cobalion. Red also has a Rock Smash, because DNA is really afraid to release a normal type without coverage. This move is good because it offers a 50% chance to debuff defense, so Red favors physical offense. And with Honor Roll 1 on his grid, this chance is guaranteed, so he can soften up enemies very nicely in long matches. Lastly, Red has this new trainer move called Mini Potion All. It's basically an on-demand synchro healing, so Red can restore spread damage for a party. Red's sync move doesn't have a side effect, but it's worth noting it has some chunky base power. This is a normal type sync move, and it lacks super effective damage, so this is DNA's way of attempting to mitigate that. As for Red's passives, Max Regen grants him regeneration when using a max move, so this gives him some more consistent recovery. Team Alert Mine 1 buffs the party's defense by 1 stage when Snorlax drops to half HP or below. I expect this would give you an immediate defense buff with the half ally HP option in Champion Stadium. Something to note here is that the description doesn't specify that it only works when the condition is met for the first time. Theoretically, you can restore health above the 50% threshold, fall back again and gain another defense buff, which is very realistic when Mini Potion and Regeneration give you small healing boosts. Lastly, Group Moral Support 4 has a 50% chance to buff the party's special defense when Red uses turn moves. It's different from Force Field, because that one is tied to a Pokémon's actions. I like this passive because you get some defensive utility while setting up the party. Now, let's talk about Red is Gigantamax. Since we have Signature Leon as a precedent, we have a clear picture of how this is going to work. A quick rundown of Dynamax is that it's available as soon as the battle starts, and you can use it once whenever you want. Dynamax is affected by Critical Strike 2 as a Loki skill, but it's considered a separate category from moves and sync moves. It won't be affected by passives like Ramming Speed or Inertia, and it ignores enemy passives like Endurance. Max moves do not advance the sync countdown either, so keep that in mind. So Red has two max move options. He has Max Knuckle and G-Max Replenish, so you have to choose between either of them per match. Max Knuckle buffs the party's attack by 2 stages, so Red can top off physical strikers, which is a good utility. This move is strong, so if you need cheap damage in a fighting weak stage, Snorlax can totally contribute. G-Max Replenish is more complicated. It refreshes the user's move points by 1. It's an on-demand sync burst, so if you need to refresh super effective up next or a mini potion, you can use this instead. So, given the fact that you have 1 Dynamax per encounter, G-Max Replenish gives Red a ton of value for Battlefield climbing. In this mode, Red works similarly to Sawyer, where Red can quickly buff crit as long as you remember to use G-Max Replenish every haul. Red might work better than Sawyer actually, because it also frees up your sync move. But Red cannot generate gauge, which is a little problematic. I can see a lot of fun Battlefield lineups working with Red's help though. So, if you force me to summarize Red, I would say he is a very strong consideration for new players. 1-5 Red can patch up a ton of holes in a starting account, because he lets you use low tier strikers more easily. More copies give him circumstantial utility, but I think it's safe to say that all accounts can afford to skip him. You should have the resources to make up for Red's utility at that point. Now, let's check out the grid. 1-5 Red has a 30 move point refresh too. Given the low proc chance, I don't think this makes that big of a difference, considering that you can use G-Max Replenish to refresh Red's turn moves. 2-5 gives him some more tanking utility. Max Group Therapy clears a status for the entire party when you use a max move, so it's a good way to counter cheesy stages that depend on status conditions to cripple the party. Antitoxin and Quick Cure offer some more consistency as well. At this stage, you also get MGRs, and enhancements for Snorlax is Body Slam and Rock Smash. So you have a 60% chance to paralyze and guaranteed defense drops respectively. 3-5 makes Red is 6-star EX a lot more potent. Here you get Safety Net and Adrenaline 1, in a similar vein to Signature Blue. When you sync with Red for the first time, you grant Endure to the entire party, and it also guarantees you perform your next sync move in 3 rounds of combat. Red is mostly there to enable sync nukers, so you might think this isn't very useful, but this array of perks are amazing for extreme battles. 6-star EX 3-5 Classic Red will be able to help in extreme battles almost as well as Signature Blue. Besides that, there is some augmentations for Mini Potion and Red's max moves, and what I like the most is Max Shielding Strikes too, which allows Red to buff the party's defense by 2 stages when using a max move. The standard grid I would run would be something like this, just grabbing the defense buffs as well as the potion utility and some means of contributing by spamming Rock Smash once Red is done with his buffing cycle. Besides that, I would recommend the 6-star EX mode with Safety Net and Adrenaline 1. Of course, this will be focused around a longer match where you would benefit from the 6-star EX support bonus over spamming super effective up and next Signux with a Striker. Ultimately, I would not put red on the same tier as Signature Blue. Signature Blue comprises more proactive party-wide utility, where red is more of a fast offense enabler. Besides Red's turn move, the rest of his defensive buffs are slow ramping, so I don't think he chases content as easily as Signature Blue. The lack of speed support hurts him the most in this area. If you pull Red as an older player, I think his best value will be as backup for extreme battles. Extreme battles are becoming the norm, and his 3-5 utility will be phenomenal for that. Up next is OG Blue and Aerodactyl, a rock-type Pokémon striker. So, a very reductive way of looking at this unit is that DNA decided to copy-paste Emmet and give it Dire Heal Plus. Like, Aerodactyl even has sand tiles. What is happening? Now, the difference is that Blue is a Mega Evolving striker with a mixed coverage. He has a different array of utility than Emmet, but the playstyles are so similar. I cannot help but compare them. So, Aerodactyl has good stats, average offenses that you can augment with his Mega Evolution. Blue's biggest distinguishing niche relative to other strikers is that he supports the party while buffing himself. Dire Heal Plus is a party-wide benefit, so he pairs nicely alongside supports who don't buff crit, people like Lily and Clefairy or Elio and Primarina. This is a pretty huge deal because it gives Blue more individuality. You can consider him an active buffing asset for dual strike hyper offense, which is very valuable if you want to relieve some buffing pressure from your support. Anyway, base Aerodactyl has Hyper Beam as its main offense. This gives him a distinction as a special rock-type striker. We are used to this move, it's just dummy strong with accuracy issues, and the 2-5 grid gives Blue an accuracy tile to fix misses as well. Then you have Ancient Power, it's just your standard move you use when you are low on gauges. And Blue's turn move is an alternate version of Signature Red's turn move. You buff your offenses, you debuff defenses, and if you Mega Evolve, it also buffs speed. Mega Aerodactyl has an excellent speed stat, so you would do well to buff the stat. The Sync move has no side effects. As for passives, Rock Shift turns a Hyper Beam into a Rock-type move, so you can claim you are a Rock-type striker. You also get a Combo Freebie 2, which has a 30% chance to grant free move next when you land an attack successfully. This really helps Aerodactyl's gauge management. Aerodactyl also has endurance, so it can survive a random AoE move when needed. So, when you Mega Evolve Aerodactyl, you gain Blue's capacity as a mixed striker. You lose Dire Heal Plus but gain Double Edge. The Mega Evolution also replaces endurance with recoil removal. You get to maintain Endure while also eliminating any downside related to using recoil moves. Double Edge is weaker than Hyper Beam, though, and Blue also has less attack than special attack. But generally speaking, physical offense is better in this game. For example, Physical Blue can be paired with Kukui for rock-type skills and Leer. Special moves are harder to support by comparison, and 1-5 Blue also needs accuracy support when running Hyper Beam. Also, do know that Blue's sync move is physical, so he just has good cohesion with defense debuffs in general, especially when utilizing his 6-star EX sync nuke. I like how Aerodactyl is a Mega Evolution makes it stronger, but the double-edged section of this kit is gated behind it, which gives Blue less flexibility. I know people are still giving flack to Anniversary Steven, but I actually like it. I don't have to Mega Ball with him. It means I can run a DPS mode or a nuking mode whenever I feel like it. Blue doesn't need to Mega Evolve though. He always has access to Hyper Beam, and if you want to run a DPS mode with a 6-star EX support, it's viable despite the loss in power. And when invested right, Blue is sync hits fairly hard, almost as well as Steven and Metagross's nuke, so it's not like you are not incentivized to Mega Ball with him. So OG Blue is pretty good, very straightforward. He cannot augment his offense through field effects, which gives him some issues of typing stages. But the offensive and defensive utility here is phenomenal. Dire Heal Plus in a striker is unprecedented, and it gives Blue some unparalleled potential for dual strike team compositions. But this might be overvalued because a lot of the dual strike archetypes already use supports that can maximize credit for a party. Now, the issue is Blue is competition, specifically Emmet. I know Emmet looks weaker on the surface, but he just has father multipliers than Blue, and he doesn't have the Mega Evolution restriction. At base, 1-5 Emmet is a better striker than Blue. Emmet hits harder and he can fix accuracy by himself, and he also has a flinching utility with Rock Slide. When fully invested, Blue doesn't have to rely on weather for his peak damage, so Blue feels more like a team player where Emmet needs Sandstorm for his best value. The biggest difference here is that Blue provides offensive support, which is the angle we should be salvaging here. So 1-5 Blue has literally nothing useful. Some move point refreshes for Badabilla climbing, but I am not a fan of those chances. And Sand Shelter is meant to be played in a Sand team composition alongside the Subway Twins. 2-5 has a sharp entry 1. Normally, I love this on any striker who gets it because it spares a turn of setup. But if you bring Blue, you kinda want to use Dire Heal Plus twice to maximize the party's critical hit rate. So I am a little mixed about it in this unit. There is also Hyper Beam accuracy and an MGR, so it's a little easier to spam that. Fear State 4 should more than ensure Blue is survival in conjunction with Endurance. Ancient Power Swag Bag 1 raises the chances to buff with Ancient Power from 10% to 20%. The Omni buffs are good, but you are kind of wasting time and not clicking Hyper Beam or Double Edge if you use that. Sands of Time 2 hastens the move gauge during a sandstorm, and there is also Double Edge super duper effective too. With this, Double Edge can start competing with Hyper Beam, and it also has the compositional advantages with Kukui that I mentioned earlier. The full grid is for Asteroids. You get Critical Strike 1 and Surian Sun 1. There is also several sinking tiles as well as Haymaker, which is a fantastic multiplier. Soften Up 1 guarantees the nuke crits, but it's too expensive and far off the way, I am afraid. The standard build I would run would be centered around Blue is nuke and his Hyper Beam efficiency. So you grab Critical Strike 1 as well as the Hyper Beam accuracy tile. And with these many tiles and Haymaker, you have a similar nuking efficiency to Steven and Mega Metagross, so it's fairly potent. If you wanted to focus on a purely physical Aerodactyl, I would drop the Hyper tile and go for a bit more sinking power, as well as Double Edge super duper effective too. But of course, this is only functional in super effective contexts. Now, something else you can do is also run this guy alongside Ingo for your Sand DPS. So you use 6-star EX Ingo to fatten your base power, and you run the Sand multipliers because Ingo can enable that for you. But a mode I really want to try is with both Subway Twins. You know how you can run Emmet plus Raihan with 6-star EX Ingo for pure DPS? Blue fits that just as well in that lineup because of the type skills he procs with Emmet. With Head Start 1, you have a good shot at playing Sync Acceleration. Emmet has Head Start himself, and with his turn move, you could shave off a whole round of combat to reach a sync move faster. So, Blue is an excellent striker. He is very powerful and entirely self-sufficient. But I have the Subway Twins, so I don't feel the need to pull for this. Olivia is a perfectly capable rock-type striker with her nuke, and if you are concerned about the extreme battle, I think 3-5 Brock and Onyx has reasonable chances to make it through that fight anyway. Dire Heal Plus does give Blue some unique value. I still have a hard time parsing how this affects his team compositions, because buffing with him is a lot more efficient. But well, we're done here. Oh boy, this video is a lot longer than I was hoping for, because it's only a couple sync pairs, but I prefer being thorough than neglecting to mention things. Anyway, thank you for watching. Good luck on your pulls if you are going for any of these two. But take care, and I hope to see you another time.